Welcome to Love Light, the only podcast dedicated to bright, fine art photography. Hosted by Sarah Jane Ethan, Love Light is here to celebrate all things bright, pretty and pastel. At Love Light, white is the new black and beauty is in the detail. This is your place to relax, a place to belong, a place to be inspired and connect with like-minded colleagues who share your passion for light and beauty. So come and introduce yourself in the Love Light Facebook group and subscribe to the Love Light YouTube, podcast and Instagram for your weekly dose of inspiration and connect with bright, fine art photographers from around the world.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Love Light podcast. Today we've got something a bit different because I am joined by my husband, Matt. And for those of you who don't know Matt is you're a bit of the technical genius behind our photography business because you've certainly really helped me because your particular skill set is in SEO and website optimization for Google. Yeah. And honestly, that has made my life so pleasant as a photographer because what happens is that my website now is actually bringing me my ideal clients without me having to do anything. Yeah. And I am a person who hates the hustle of business full stop, let alone photography. I hate social media with a passion. It's just not the life I want to live. I don't want to be online all the time, posting and constantly networking with people and trying to do styled shoots, and it's just
doing TikTok dances.
Oh, don't even. No, that's just not me. It's just not me. And actually social media is changing in a way that's even more not me. It's just, you have to have the big hand movements, trying
Fork
to get
into
people's
my eye.
attentions, and I can't. It's just not the life I want. I just want.
Let's be real. We're getting left behind, aren't we, by society?
But I even don't care. I just like my quiet life where I just get to do the thing that I love, which is photography.
But that is a joke, right? We're getting left by society, and again we perceive things as that, everybody does the TikTok thing. No, I genuinely don't. If you want to do the dances,
if you
TikTok,
can, I admire you. I hats off to you.
Just can't even imagine. But that feels like that's where everything's going, but it's not. I started this in 2011. Building my photography business on the back of SEO and network and a few other things that I did back then that were super specific. It still works today, and it is still by far the vast majority of clients. Now, you can get all your bookings from Instagram. You can, I guess, get them all from TikTok for goodness sake. But it's changeable, right? When I first started, do you remember I used to post something on Facebook, on my Facebook page, and I would get actual clients just immediately from a Facebook post. Back in the day, in 2011. It was nuts. But within a couple of years, when you then started a couple of years later, that wasn't really true anymore. And then by 2015, by 2016, those sorts of time, literally, you got to work hard at getting Facebook to work. And there's nothing wrong. Again, you can make that work, and we do. We actually get quite a few sort of clients that way through a specific technique. But the thing that's been consistent, the thing that's been relatively easy, if you know how to do it, is the SEO stuff.
And I think, because we've got clients from other sources, but I actually did this for our business course. I drew out where all of my bookings have come from over the last 5 years. And 60% of them were through SEO every single year, consistently. Now, the reality is I was getting up to consistently 50 inquiries a week. I was having months.
Expensive wedding photography, by the way,
50 inquiries a month, but sometimes up to 200 a month,
which is 50 a week.
50 a week.
That's the top end.
In those busy months like January, I was getting 200 a month.
For expensive wedding photographers, or just to clarify.
Yes, because my price is on my website, so this wasn't deal seekers. This was people who were happy with my price. I only need 30 a year. So the reality was, most of them I was turning away because I'd already booked the date with other people. But the reality was, if I wanted to book my entire year's bookings just through SEO, I could have done it easily.
10 times over.
10 times over.
Over the whole year, right?
Over the whole year. So, in that sense, there wasn't really much point,
And if you weren't choosy about which venues you wanted to shoot as well, if you were happy to...
That's true, because I could be a bit picky about my
Well, it's not about being picky. It's just knowing that your style suits very specific venues. We live in a region of our country that's dark winter days in dark castles. You're gonna avoid those because you can't give the same type of thing. So anyway, that's
so what SEO has given me and just for people who don't, can you just describe what SEO actually is?
That is a very good question. Before we
it's not assumed, SEO. People are
what the
hell is SEO?
Yeah. So it literally is search engine optimization. So when somebody is searching something in Google or Bing or any of the search engines, DuckDuckGo, try and say that slowly to be careful because it can go wrong. There's it's basically, how do I tell that search engine that my website is a really good fit for a particular person? And that's all based around the search terms, the thing that they're specifically going to search. And that is then me responding to what it is that they're going to search and saying, this is my website. It's got to do with exactly what you're looking for. And that literally is all it is. It's just making sure that you tell Google the right things, because of course it's a computer. It's not a person. There isn't just a person going around like figuring out, oh, this website matches this kind of person. It's like they've just tried to build a computer, and all of the search engines are the same. When I say Google, I mean all of the search engines. It's literally just a computer that goes, okay, so it needs like this person and this website match, but it needs certain signals, and a lot of those signals are missed by people because they don't know the technical aspects of it, which is totally understandable.
Because it's actually relatively simple when you know how most things in life are, I suppose. Yeah. But you've done this for me in the past, and I am not a technical person, and I'm not over exaggerating when I say that. Like you're always just despairing. Like even like you set us up with kind of Netflix.
No, I was literally just about to say that.
And I'm like, and every time I'm just like, I can't find what I want to watch. And Matt's like, why is this so hard for you? And like, I'm just not technical at all. Yeah. Yet you've set me up with like a step-by-step, okay, I just need you to do this on your website. Boom, 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 boom. And even I was just like, oh, that's pretty easy. I can do that. And it's just having that confidence to know what it is that you need to do. So what you're actually going to offer to the members of the Lovelight community is a free SEO audit on your website. So Matt will actually go through your website personally, look through your website and find out what is working well in terms of Google being able to recognize your website as the website they need to show to the people searching for the things that your clients are searching for. But and also find out where those holes are, so you know which holes to plug. And most of the time it's actually very simple. What you need to do. So
it really is.
So you'll just do that free audit for people, and then you know actually, because sometimes your websites are doing great things, it's just that because one element is missing, it's actually getting missed. Exactly like you said.
It's the exact sort of audit, we call it an audit essentially, that I do on our websites, just to check like what's working on our website. That thing's not working. Obviously it doesn't just like break randomly, so I just check every so often just to see where things are at. And it's perfect for, like you say, plugging those holes, making sure you figure out what matches what person.
Because for most people it's just like, oh, I like the idea of this, and the benefits of being able to rank well in Google are obvious. Like I said, you literally sit back and wait for the right client to come to you. Most photographers are stuck in this hustle of trying to find the right photographer, find the right clients, and they're just having to work so hard and it's constant work. Whereas with this, you get your website ranking well, you literally sit back and wait for the right clients
catch them
to come to you.
It's like a net that you're just catching moths in.
So the benefits are obvious, but for people it's the fear of, well, I just literally don't know where to start.
How the heck do you do it?
And you think that you have to be like a computer programmer in order to do it. And actually, I think that's what's so good about you, and I've really benefited from this in my business, is that you've just been able to break it down and go, actually, it's really simple. You just need to boom, 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 and just walk me, and you can just walk me through. If for those of you listening on the audio, you just missed our great,
little
shimmy
dance thing.
But so that's really helped.
I think that's precisely it. It's knowing what to do at the right time, and that's what the audit. That's why I put the audit together for myself. When I do it, is because I need to know, okay, what bits need doing, and that they're all relatively easy. They're all straightforward. And if they're not, if there are super technical aspects to websites and SEO, absolutely right. But the great thing is there's usually a plugin to fix it for you, or you can just, either it's free, and the audit will tell you what things to install and stuff. Or maybe it costs a little, but that's fine. We hardly pay anything a year on marketing. On all of our marketing. We basically have never spent. I mean, we've tested a bunch of stuff. So like we've tested ads and stuff like that have worked okay, and we've spent money. So we have spent money on tests, but like if we didn't bother doing those tests, for basically both of your and I's whole businesses, we'd have probably spent like over the years like £1,000, something like that. Maybe it's $2,000, that sort of price range on all of our marketing ever. And that's nuts, because we make a good salary every single year. Well, both of us do.
But SEO is largely free. There isn't big costs involved with getting your website ranking well.
Yeah,
and then
that's what I mean. Like it's such a low price. But there's the technical side, and that's the bit that understandably people are afraid of.
Well, this is the thing. So for people who are listening thinking, okay, I understand the benefits of getting your website ranking well, but like, I don't really trust you when you say this is easy. And like, there are things, like you said, there are things where you can get a plugin to do the more complicated things for you. Yeah. But can you give people just, and I know that you said already that, it's not just as simple as, just do this one thing, because if the other things are not working on your website, that thing that you've changed for the better may be missed by Google. But and you'll help people to know how to like balance all the everything. But can you just give them an idea of like simple things that like anybody can do to their website which will make a difference, a dramatic difference?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing for photographers probably to start off with that's really not technical and is super easy is just making sure your images are loaded into your website properly, so that they're not like huge images. So when you export from Lightroom for your client, you're talking about like 4,000 pixels wide, or they should never be anywhere near that wide for your website. Even if it's a full screen one, it's likely it only needs to be 1,000, 1,200 pixels. So it's just thinking about things like making sure that your images on your website aren't massive, because what that does is it slows your website right down, and it's the biggest problem for photographers.
Interesting.
And the few photographers who get it right are usually the ones that are on the first page. It's that silly. But that's partly because hardly any photographers do all the other actual important stuff.
Right.
So if you want some quick wins, get your images sorted and get them sized right, because that's the thing that actually makes a huge difference, because it's all to do with speed and stability. Google likes speed and stability. That's one of the primary ways, is because a big image or 5 big images or a scrolling gallery of 10 massive images slows down and almost stalls the website when it's trying to load on a mobile phone or whatever.
So how many images should you have on a scrolling gallery then in order to...
I mean, if
would you even recommend scrolling galleries?
If you want to get into hardcore, I would never put a scrolling gallery on your homepage. One that a carousel, or I don't know, people have different names for them. I would just have one single static image at the top. It's good for sales as well, because the reality is most of us try and do a gallery and a carousel thing, and I've done it so many times in years gone by. I can't decide on what image communicates my brand rightly, so I just do the half-assed approach and put a load in, right? Like that's actually why we're doing it.
And we think that we're getting around the problem by just bombarding people with lots of images, but actually
diluting it even more.
Diluting it, having that one strong image that just says, this is who I am, this is how I work, these are the people that I work with, is so strong.
If it made it into that carousel, then it's obviously strong enough to be the header image in and of itself. So just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and just choose whichever one. So I think the important thing, that's probably the first easy thing. You know how to export images at specific sizes out of Lightroom as a photographer, or at least I hope you do. That's
that's one thing you can
that's one thing you should hopefully be able to do. Just change the size, make it a bit more of an appropriate size. Like I say, the absolute maximum, even if it's like a full wide screen, you're talking 1,200 pixels.
I was going to say, what's an appropriate size?
Normally, so if it's the normal content width, your website sort of sits in in the middle of the screen, you're talking about 7, maybe 800 pixels wide. And then of course, if it's like a half, like a left aligned or a right aligned image, half it. So go 450, something like that. No, that's half of 900, 350. Oh, no. It's embarrassing.
Did you used to be a scientist? Is that?
Yeah. Not a very good, not a very good one, incidentally. So that's probably the biggest thing, is just having it. There are ways of figuring it out and stuff, and you can Google that yourself and figure out like how big should the images be on my website. But that's a really good start, and that makes. So
you're saying definitely no more than 1,200 pixels.
Yeah, for a widescreen one. Yeah.
And that just helps your website be more attractive to Google. Why does that make a difference?
probably in 2016 now, actually, Google transitioned the whole internet in their minds over to something called mobile first, because if you look at your analytics data, you should have analytics installed on your website, but we'll talk about that at a totally different time. If you look at your analytics data, you can see, and it's true for your website as well, 60%, 2016, was when the threshold of people visiting websites and just using the internet in general went from the majority of desktop visitors mainly being desktop users, like i.e. the computer or the laptop, over to mobile users. And that was then, I think by 2016 it was like 60% of users, and it was true for your website. Now it's even more, it's like 75% of your users will be on their mobile. Now, if you're in the UK, like a country with really good access to fiber broadband, like everywhere, then that doesn't seem like a big issue. But like if you're in America, where you may have good internet in a major city, but the vast majority of the country has terrible internet, then your mobile, it's taken ages to load these heavy duty websites.
I've been to photographers' websites, where it's taken so long to load. To be honest, I've just given up.
Yeah, that's exactly what your client does, right? The average is 2 seconds. People wait 2 seconds for it to load, and then it's something like 2/3 just drop off if it takes longer than that. And the vast majority of photographers' websites take that long, at least. So right there, you've got a major fix that you can easily. But
actually,
do.
Like you said, it's really easy to fix this. And actually, one of the things that carry on.
I was going to say, and at the very least, even if that doesn't make you rise through the ranks because everyone else has got fast websites, it helps your conversion rate, because instead of losing 2/3, you now just gained 2/3 back of visitors that you maybe lost.
Because that's so frustrating to do all of that work.
All that work.
Get the people landing on your website. Like, that's the bit that everybody's trying to do, is get people landing on the website. How frustrating to lose them just because your website isn't running fast enough, because your images are too big.
Yeah, I was working on a photographer's website. So bear in mind, your website whole homepage is 1.8 megabytes big total.
Okay.
That means it on basically on really slow connections, it loads pretty fast. It loads under 2 seconds basically. Still, I was working on somebody's website a little while ago, and it's 180 megabytes. So it was literally 100 times bigger than yours.
My goodness.
And that was primarily carousel images.
Wow. So actually that does make a huge difference, having a carousel.
Again, though, they were full sized, as if they were been delivered to a client, so they were like, this big, when they only need to be this big. So you can imagine. So obviously that's a virtual bigness, and that's but that's why it's difficult. That's why people make this mistake, because virtual bigness doesn't translate into the real world. Well, I mean, it kind of does. It does translate to printing sizes, but anyway, it's a complicated mess. So just focusing on that can actually make a significant difference.
Wow.
At the beginning. That's your foundation. That's one of your foundational technical things.
It's a thing that you just tweak in your workflow to just change the size of your images, and something that you've put in my workflow as well, which I understand. I'm not like technical. I'm just like doing it because you're telling me to do it, but is using I don't know what you would call it, like a software, JPEG Mini.
Yeah, so that's exactly.
And I think that's a quick win, for resizing your images. Can you tell people about how that works and why that's good?
So actually, since I because I'm not a photographer anymore, I basically look after your website totally. So I do everything now. So I've actually progressed that, and I teach people this. So you absolutely can use JPEG Mini. This is a controversial statement, even though it's still true.
Like controversial.
People get upset about this because they get really connected to JPEG Mini. And
are you going to start a debate in the Love Light community? I'm not sure if I can moderate
I've started this debate accidentally a few times, but it's true because I've done the side-by-side comparisons, and it's absolutely true. JPEG Mini is good, but all it is doing is making it a 60% Lightroom quality. So if you export from Lightroom at 60% quality, which you wouldn't do for print, but you can do for web easily, because there's literally no difference. That's actually all JPEG Mini is doing. So you can actually bypass that point, that running it through JPEG Mini, and just make the image, export at 60% quality, and that's what I used to get you to do. But there are other even better now, more even since I started doing that in probably 2017. There's now even better options. There's a website called Short Pixel, and then you quickly zip your images in there, and man alive, it makes your images even smaller, like ridiculously small in terms of memory size. So instead of being like 800 kilobytes, it becomes like 160. So it's much better for your website, but it's the same idea. You take your image that you're about to upload, and you've either exported it from Lightroom at 60% or you've run it through JPEG Mini. Both are fine. It's just that they will do the exact same thing, whatever fits with your workflow and if you own it. Then you go ahead and just upload it to Short Pixel's website. Go ahead and don't bother buying their plugin or anything. You don't really need it. Run it through their compressor, re-download it, then upload it to your homepage. I'm not talking about doing blog posts with this. I would just upload
just for static images.
Just
on,
do
like, your about page
it's on your important pages, like your homepage, and something that I call cornerstone content, which is just these really, really big pages that get huge amounts of traffic.
Focused on specific clients and
and your blog post can get traffic, but that's a bit of more of a hit and miss job. Plus, your blog posts tend to be a little bit more for your clients, so don't worry about messing around. You'd be there forever if you were getting them all that small. JPEG Mini or 60% for your blog posts, totally fine. Just do that. But for your major pages, that Short Pixel shortcut, as it were, can make a world of difference. Now, it does lower the quality. It definitely does. But it's so good that unless you zoomed in quite far, you can't tell. And that's really, really cool. A really cool little tip that I've found has been super useful. It's why your homepage is 1.8 megabytes big and loads in like half a second. Which is insane. It's basically, that's the top level. You basically can't get better than that. But that's not everything. So that's a technical foundational thing that you should be able to do that's super, super easy. Everything else, that's the access door through to where you get to the actual important stuff, the stuff where you actually compete with other photographers, who have got good SEO as well, and that's in your writing. And that's the biggest thing. It's, back in 2011, when I first started, it was always about content is king. You've probably heard that phrase. People have, that gets bandied about a lot. And it is absolutely true still. We just got sidetracked for the last 5 years talking about just page speed, or just, which is what we've just been talking about, getting your website faster. All those sorts of things become a bit of a distraction. They're true, they're important, but the actual heart of your SEO is your written content. If you can write more words, you get more traffic. It's as simple as that. So I used to recommend people just get 300 words, on a blog post, and it'll start to do something useful for you. And that's not true anymore. It's more like 500 words now.
For people who find that really stressful, they just think, oh, well, if that's what I have to do, like I got, do you have quick wins, of how you actually know how to write, what to write to even create 500 words?
Because I'm not a super writer, like by any stretch of the imagination. SJ, to be honest, is the writer. I mean, how many books have you authored now? It's like a ridiculous amount for someone your age. So SJ is the writer. I'm not so much, and I'm not particularly good at sort of sales, as it were, in terms of my writing, but you don't really need the sales aspect for this. You don't need to pressure it. Now, one of the things that SJ is really good at is getting testimonies from her clients as she goes. Now, that means that you can kind of write your content for yourself. Well,
they write it for me.
Exactly.
So I actually we teach this on the business course, how to get good testimonies from people, because that can actually be like a real hassle for people. So there's a few different things that I do to get good testimonies. The first is that I have on my contact form, I say, what do you like about SJ's images? That forms the basis of some of my testimony, because they say, oh, I love the light dreamy feel and everyone's having so much fun, she captures laughter and details. That's a great testimony.
It's writing itself.
It's literally writing itself. I ask people at the end of like if we do a portrait shoot or something, I'll say, I almost like, I put words in their mouth, because I say things like, how was that? I hope that you enjoyed that and that you felt at ease. You know, so I'm actually preempting. I'm kind of putting words in their mouth and saying like the kind of thing, like wink, wink. That's the kind of thing that I would like you to say. But people, it's psychology. People do it. They parrot back what you've just said, because when people are happy, they mirror the person that they're with. And so then they say, "Oh yes, I really enjoyed that. I felt so at ease." And you literally like, brilliant.
Well, they said it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I needed for my testimony. I often say to people, you know, when I send through the gallery link, like, what do you think of this? Please let me know your feedback. Like, it means the world to me. So then they'll say, you know, I like that. Then I'll also notice when they share it on Facebook, because sometimes this happens quite a lot. I don't know why it happens like this, but people say to me, "Oh, you know, I love it. Thank you so much." And you're like, be more descriptive. Give me some more words.
Any more?
But then they share the link to their gallery or their blog post on social media, and they're gushing about how wonderful I was to work with, you know, and how much they would recommend me, and like blah blah blah. Their images are like a dream, you know, blah blah. Yeah. So like I look for those as well, because that is legitimately part of my testimony too. Yeah. So what I do is I'm pulling all this different, where they're saying it here. I also like pay attention to what people say to me on the day at a wedding, because quite often guests come up to me and say, "You are the happiest photographer I've ever met in my life. You're just a part of the party. I wouldn't even know that you were, you know, you were here, you know," or something like that. And so then I collate this testimony through all these little bits that I'm getting from everybody, and then quite often I'll put and our guests said, as part of my client's testimony, our guest said, and then I quote what their guest said to me on the day. I end up with this block text of testimony that forms, you know, my blog post.
It's usually at least about 300 words at the very least. And
it's not just me waffling. I'm not just waffling with, "Oh, and she was wearing lovely shoes, and it was a beautiful day," and you know, and you're just like trying to find things to write, you know, and it just ends up being a waffly text, which means that people landing on that blog post, well, they just skip past it because you're clearly just waffling. Like, it's not anything. Whereas when I've got like a testimony, it's really engaging, because people like social proof. They like to know that people have tried and tested this supplier and they're happy, and so it's really convincing to be able to read a testimony. So I've got this block text for my blog post that not only serves my SEO purposes but also serves my sales purposes. It's not wasted text. This is really good sales material and helps people. By the time people contact me on my website, most of the time they're ready to book. They're just like, "Yes, it's you, you know, this is it." And it's because I have content like this on my website, which is very compelling from a sales point of view.
So I mean, one thing, because obviously I started doing that when you told me how you get your testimonies, so I started doing the same thing. But if you've not got the mind for it, like SJ remembers everything. So if you're like me and you haven't got the mind for it, just as soon as you hear something, twig onto it and go write it in your notes on your phone as soon as you can. Even if you're on the shoot, whenever you've got for a wedding or something, try and get as soon as possible when you've got a break, just a minute, just quickly go write that on your phone. Just note it down, because it makes all the difference. But that essentially will, you know, that'll easily get you 300 words easy. So the rest is just a real easy little description of what the shoot was about. Pardon me. So, you know, if it obviously all depends on what you're doing. It's a bit easier if you're a wedding photographer, because your likelihood is the post that you're writing about is going to be targeting the venue. So your keywords and everything, i.e. the thing that you want Google to recognize this page for, is likely to be the venue. Not so much when you're a newborn photographer in a particular location. It's a little bit more involved. You've got to think a bit about what it is you're describing and how you get that keyword in there. So that's probably the first thing you're looking on your blog post. Certainly is to try ones that you really want to rank. Other ones, don't do this for every post, because you'll be there forever. But you know, you've got one that you want to rank for, try and get your 500 words in, and get the testimonies in anyway, because that will make all the difference for your conversions and sales. That's a given, and that's a separate issue than SEO, or somewhat separate issue.
Because it comes down to branding again, because when I'm describing the day, I'm even branding and sales through that. So I'm saying, they welcomed me like a member of the family. They were so relaxed, so easy to work with. They laughed loads, which is perfect for me, because that's exactly the kind of people I like to work with. So although I'm like waffling, it's like targeted branding.
It's sales.
It's sales.
Essentially.
It's sales. So
putting in their mind what it is that you're talking about. So if you can get those 500 words in using the testimony as the basis, then you're golden. You've got to make sure that you're the title of the page. So WordPress users, it's just making sure that title. So if you know what a H1 tag is, it literally just means the primary title at the very top. And all you do is you just stick the keywords in there. So, it's the place that you're trying to target.
And it's just helping Google know if somebody is searching for that venue, for example, this is the content you want to show them. And I see it like that the game I used to play when I was, you get them in like kids' activities books and stuff. And I remember it when you've got like a list of items down one side and a list of items on the other side, pictures or whatever. Yeah. And you have to draw the line to match up the items, like what goes with what. So you've got like a spoon and a bowl and a tree and a flower. Or something, and you have to like say
association type stuff,
which things belong together, and so that's essentially what Google's doing. You've got these people who are searching for things, and then you've got websites that contain different things, and Google is the thing that's making
between them.
It's making that connection. It's going, okay, this person is searching for this website is the website that they will need to find because it's got what they're looking for, so it matches them up. And so doing what you've just said actually is the thing that makes Google realize your website is the thing that person is searching for.
Probably the biggest foundation, and actually, like in the SEO circles that I sort of move in. That sounds weird, sorry. But yeah, I just I talk to a lot of people and get a lot of advice from people about specific issues, trying to build stuff. And time and time again, these people with experience that build like websites for huge brands and huge companies, time and time again, they're saying the biggest thing that moves the needle the most is the stuff, the on-page content, the stuff that you've done. And there's a lot more to it. We can't really get into today because there's not time. But essentially, that's the basis of it. The more you write, the more likely Google's going to target you as being the good website.
Well, so hopefully that's helped. That's two really practical things to go away with straight away that people can do. Make sure that you're optimizing the image size, no more than 1200 pixels, and export at 60% quality. And getting this content on your blog. And we've given good ideas of how you can actually create that content if you just think, oh, I'm not a good writer, I don't know.
And I identify with that totally.
Actually, it's easier than you think to write good content that not only works for SEO but actually works for your branding and your sales as well.
With me not being as gifted a writer, I've essentially had to develop a technique that means that I'm bashing out huge essays essentially worth of writing in a few hours because of you can break it down into quite simple steps.
In fact, I think the other day you made some change to something on my website because you were telling me about it because you were really like, yay, like big win, that you changed something really small.
Tiny.
And like it had jumped 22 places or something in Google, just from making that one
2.5 pages, essentially.
2.5 pages,
higher.
Which is what that 2022 websites it beat just by changing something very, very small in the text.
Probably 9 minutes worth of work.
And I think this is the exciting thing about SEO. When you know how, it's actually lots of very little changes that even people who aren't technically competent, like me, actually can still do it. And it makes such a huge difference. And it's a totally different way of life as a photographer, that you're suddenly not in the hustle anymore of trying to get out there, you're actually in a position to allow clients to come to you and you just sit back and wait for the emails to come in, which is a very pleasant way of living. That I can. So like you said, there's so much to go through. There's too much to go through on this podcast episode. So you're offering this free SEO audit. So what we will have, it will be links will be around this podcast episode. You can go to www.sarahjaneethan.co.uk/lovelight.
I'll put a page in there that's specifically that'll catch people's eye, that's specifically for SEO.
So there will be the link for the SEO audit there. You just need to put your email address in and Matt will do that.
And your website, but it'll be there.
And your website, because you need to know
I need to know where.
Where are you going?
What do you want me to look
what
at?
Are you auditing? And then they will get a personalised report through with everything that's going on with their website. So they know exactly what they're dealing with, what they're looking for, and then they know how to move forward with it. So if you'd like that, then feel free. That is something that you're able to offer to people.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I hope that's been helpful and given them some interesting things to talk about, because it's not something that we've really talked about on the podcast before.
No,
SEO. It's all,
that's right.
So this is a whole other arena. But actually, if you can master this, all the benefits are so, are just amazing. So I hope that's helped, and we will see you again soon.
If you enjoyed today's episode, you can find more interviews, tips and inspiration in the Love Light Fine Art community on Facebook. You can also follow along with each new episode on the Love Light YouTube, podcast and Instagram. And don't forget to visit www.sarahjaneethan.co.uk/lovelight for information on training, real-life wedding workshops and online courses to develop your own fine art photography and connect with more of the clients you love.